New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is here in Studio 57. He's trying to clear the air this morning around the world and in his own backyard. His administration struck a surprise deal yesterday with Uber. The mayor's been locked in a fight with the on-demand car service, and this agreement delays a cap on the number of vehicles that Uber can operate. Mayor de Blasio is also concerned about the added congestion here in the city. So under this new agreement, New York will study the traffic impact of Uber. The company will share more information about the location and the length of the trips.
Word of that breakthrough came as de Blasio returned from the Vatican. On that trip, he spoke about fighting climate change at a conference of mayors. He also attended an audience with Pope Francis. Mr. Mayor, good morning.
Good morning.
So we want to talk about your feud with Uber, your feud with the mayor, with the governor, and also your feud with Hillary Clinton.
How about we should talk about my alliance with the Pope?
I promise to get to that. So lay out for us what happened with Uber. You made a deal with them. They're going to be a presence here in this city.
Oh, they've been a presence in the city. There's more Uber cars than there are yellow taxis by far at this point. What we've agreed to is the kind of limit we needed on the growth of Uber so we could make sense of a complicated situation. Congestion is growing in this city. We need to study that. We need to make sense of it. We need some rules. In addition, there's real questions here. For example, folks who are disabled. We have a way to address their needs with our yellow taxis. We don't have that with Uber. The kinds of revenue that yellow taxis provide for mass transit. That's something that doesn't happen with Uber right now that needs to happen in the future. So we need some valid regulation of Uber like any other company.
But it seems like Uber, whenever it's challenged, simply gets his way in the end.
Well, I talked to a number of mayors from around the country, around the world when I was in Rome on this very topic, and I think there's a resolute feeling among mayors all over this country and this world that no private company gets to dictate the rules to government. We have the public's interest in mind, and so we're going to strike that balance. What's good about this understanding is it's going to allow us to study the situation with some real limits in place. And we don't take any option off the table. If we ultimately believe there needs to be a cap or some kind of additional regulation, we'll do that. But for now, we have a chance to study and see what the real impact of this growing industry is on our city.
Well, we had David Plouffe here earlier this week from Uber, as you know, and we asked him about what you raised about traffic congestion. Since you were in Rome, we'll play it for you because I know you didn't get a chance to see it and have your response. But they're saying the cities can't handle the traffic, that they can't handle the influx of cars.
Well, the only person saying that is Mayor de Blasio, and it's complete nonsense. If you want to reduce congestion, what you want is less people driving their own personal cars, and that's what we're able to do.
Complete nonsense?
No, of course not. With all due respect to Mr. Plouffe, he always has a very strong financial interest here in the company, and he's speaking with that bias. The reality is that we've seen a huge increase in the number of vehicles in Midtown Manhattan, and Uber is a piece of that. We've got to deal with this congestion problem and the pollution problem that comes with it. And by the way, the same we could say about Uber as any other company. There needs to be valid regulation. I think the mindset at Uber is they should be able to do as they wish, and we don't apply that standard to any company. We say government regulation matters.
So why did you cave?
Well, we haven't. What we've said is here's a limit that they've agreed to for a period of time so we can study for 4 months. At the end of 4 months, we retain all our options. If we decide we need a cap, we'll go in that direction. If we need a different approach, that's fine. But I'm fine with a 4-month period of study, and Uber now has to give us the information we need, which they previously had not given us as part of this understanding.
Have you ever taken an Uber?
That's just what I was thinking.
Because I was surprised. I don't know if you, but like over the weekend, you can get an Uber X, an Uber taxi, or VIP, or a black car, and then they had de Blasio. Your name was on there, and I hit it, and then it said no cars available. I mean, they lobbied pretty hard against you.
Well, they have a lot of money. Like many big corporations, they think they can get their way through using a lot of money, and we don't accept that concept. That's not what a democracy is about. So, that app obviously did not tell the truth. Uber has a huge presence in the city, and nothing we're saying is going to change that core reality. What we've been talking about is how to limit the growth in the future until we can make sense of the kind of policies we need to protect the public's interest. By the way, we would say that about any company. So I think the key is we've got to recognize that no company gets to dictate the terms to the public. That's why we have valid regulations about environment, safety, the kind of revenue the public deserves so we can keep our streets clean, so we can keep our city safe, et cetera.
But then the concern about you, Mayor, they were saying that, of course, you would be in favor of the taxis because the taxi commission donates money to your campaign.
Well, it's not the taxi commission. There's been some individuals in the past who have, but that's not the point. This is, to me, a question of what's right in the public interest. Again, Uber has grown intensely in this city, and that's great, and they provide a service that a lot of people take advantage of, but there still has to be some balance in this equation. If any company came along and said, just trust us, we're going to take care of the public's interests, I don't think we would accept that. on its face. And what we're saying here is we need that balance.
Let me talk about your visit with the Pope. First of all, you had an audience with him.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
He is, I think, the strongest moral voice in the world today. And I think he is a figure who's changing the international debate more powerfully, I think, than I've seen any individual do in many, many years.
Any religious leader?
Well, any religious leader, any leader beyond that.
So what impact on climate change?
I think what he's saying right now, why he convened mayors and other leaders from around the world, is we have to race towards the Paris summit in December. If you look at the encyclical that the Pope published, it is urgent. It is filled with a sense that we must act literally now if we're going to reverse the situation our planet is facing. In December at the Paris summit, the nations of the world have an opportunity to declare themselves. They're either going to take climate change seriously and turn this situation around, or we're going to lose what I think is our last best chance. The Pope is now the kind of leader who's not just offering a religious theory or a religious doctrine. He's now literally organizing leaders around the world to act locally to create the momentum for change. I don't think we've seen a global leader have this kind of reach and this kind of impact in many, many years. And what's powerful is if you read the encyclical, it's uncompromising. Part of why people believe in Pope Francis is his voice is uncompromising and consistent. And he's saying both our consumer habits, the actions of so many of our corporations, and our governments are leading us down the wrong path.
He has also raised questions about income inequality.
He has.
And, in fact, about capitalism per se.
Yes. And there are questions that have to be asked. And this, you see today in the debate in this country the same questions coming up. Question of income inequality, which a lot of people doubted was on the front of the minds of voters until CBS News, thank you very much, did a poll literally weeks ago that proved income inequality is one of the pervasive issues of this election cycle.
What does Hillary Clinton have to do to convince you to support her? Because that's been one of the issues you say you're waiting and seeing.
Look, 2 points. One, people all over the country are talking about income inequality. And there's a gathering coalition of leaders who want to see these issues addressed. We have put together an agenda called the Progressive Agenda. You can find the details at progressiveagenda.us that says very clearly we have to raise wages and benefits. We have to move in direction of progressive taxation. We need things like paid family leave and paid sick leave all over the country. It's happening locally. Los Angeles County just days ago voted for a minimum wage increase. Kansas City, St. Louis are moving on minimum wage. Oregon just passed statewide paid sick leave.
$15 minimum
So
wage
it sounds like you're more in line with...
I'm working toward it every day, but we need the state to join us.
So why not endorse Bernie Sanders?
Here's the deal. Hillary Clinton, I think, is putting forward a lot of the right ideas, and I'm very impressed. Her last speech on the economy was very, very strong. So I'm optimistic about the direction she's going in. I think a lot of progressives want to see some more of the blanks filled in. We want to see a lot of the detail that's going to actually get us these policy changes. So I'm optimistic about where she's going, but I think this is such an urgent need right now for to address the problem of income inequality. We have to be convinced that there's a specific plan to get us there.
Okay, the Pope, as you know, is coming in September. Do you have
Yes.
plans for him? Is he coming over for dinner? Did you and the First Lady extend an invitation?
We would gladly host the Pope for dinner, but I'll tell you, he's used to Italian food, though. He would be a very high standard. But I got to tell you, when he comes here in September,
Yeah.
it's going to be one of the greatest moments for New York City in a long, long time. And the outpouring of love, I'm predicting you're going to see this city just filled with joy that this guy is here.
So tell me you were not late for a visit with the Pope.
I was very proud to say that I was where I had to be, but my plane did divert to another city along the way, which was a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. That's when you start like trying to pull out your hair. You're like, I gotta go meet with the Pope, please.
Yeah, it's like, come
right?
on, you got to give me a break here.
Thank
Like,
you, Mayor.
I got a meeting with the Pope. Can we hurry this
Come
up?
on, let's get this going.
Thank you. And if he comes for dinner, we would certainly like to come.
Well, you'd be
That plus
very
three.
welcome.
Yeah,
All right, thank you,
we
Bill de
will
Blasio.
happily serve the food and
you very much.
entertain.
Thank you, sir.